Recorded.
Good morning, Secret Treasure Hunt land. I hope you all are doing well. It is time for our next installment of the Battle Royale, or Rhapsodic Man. And I promised you guys this. We did Gershwin a few weeks ago, looking at our guy against Gershwin. And I'll tell you, this battle is way closer than it is with Gershwin. So I look back at that video of Gershwin against our guy, which is Arthur von Briesen. So today we're going up against Walt Whitman, the Wrecking Ball. Just want to jump right into it here. Get this music. All right. So today, you guys want to put up Walt Whitman. And I will tell you, man, great fit. A better fit than our guy? No way. But great. So I can see where you guys like Whitman. And if you're just kind of like saying, hey, is there a connection? And there's some things I can hold on. Yeah. Like way more than Gershwin. I think all you got in Gershwin, tell you the truth, even location on Gershwin. But all you have is Rhapsodic. That's it. And even then, it's not even capitalized. So, Rhapsody in blue, it's not even the same word. All right, look back at that one. Gershwin, not a contender, I will tell you. Walt Whitman, yeah, the Wrecking Ball. He looks pretty good. But so here's my thing, right, is a lot of answers can work, but there are better answers. So what I'm showing you here is von Briesen versus Walt Whitman. And, I'll let you decide who's a better fit, okay? Not a fit. I'll tell you, Whitman is a fit. We're looking for the best fit.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get it on, baby. All right. Tail of tape. Okay. So a very important element to New York, as Byron told us, was library. I think was his direct quote. Okay. So unlike other puzzles, and I've looked at 5 intensely so far. I'm going after the other 4 this year, just so you know. But you gotta, research is absolutely crucial in New York, and it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It's so much more interesting of a place with a history than some of the other locations, is it not? So yeah, you got to do the homework, got to use the whole picture here, and you do have to do research. I'll tell you, in research, I went from kind of okay with Von Briesen Park as the place to really certain when you dig into the details. So I highly encourage you to do that. So this one's about research. Get your sleuthing, get your Sherlock Holmes hat on. Okay, sleuthing, great sleuthing will get these things solved. And I think that's where we got to get to. All right, nationality. Walt Whitman was born in America. Okay, he was born in New York. They consider him a Long Islander. Okay, the Bone Crusher is Prussian. So I'm getting a little ahead here, but Wooly Bully, this is a big one. You guys know. I talk about it all the time. I cut a separate video on who's Wooly Bully. I think it's von Briesen. He fits perfectly to the Wooly Bully. Okay. Is Wooly Bully then a couple things? Should you include fair people in the solves? Come on, guys. 71% of the book is the fair people. Okay. There's dozens of them, dozens and dozens. So people say, well, Byron didn't write those. Okay. Well, he instructed a bunch of people to. Okay, he didn't have time to put it all together. He's out burying boxes, putting everything together. So yeah, he had people write these, but clearly he instructed them. And so 71% of the book is the fair people. Can you imagine putting this whole treasure hunt together and making almost 3/4 of the book not relate to finding the boxes? Well, of course they do. Okay, but there's layers, and there's a variety of usefulness in the fair people. In New York, I will tell you, it absolutely 100%, you need to be on the fair people because it helps narrow it down really very, very tightly. Okay, so in the Wooly Bully, he said in black and white, Wooly Bully is a Prussian, he's of Teutonic origin, which is Prussian. And then he says he's of German flavor. Bone Crusher spoke German. He was born in Prussia. The city he was from is actually part of Poland. So that speaks to part of the puzzle. It's this combo deal. He was all these nationalities, actually. Von Briesen was. But if Byron tells us in Wooly Bully, this person related to New York is of Prussian origin, I find me somebody who's Prussian in history, and then who spoke German, there's German flavor, and just so happens to have a park at the very south end of Staten in the shadow of the Ray Giant. Okay. In any case, our guy is Prussian. Matches hints given in the book about New York perfectly. Okay, book mentions. Not really. I don't see any direct evidence relating to Walt Whitman, okay? Is he a rhapsodic man? Yeah. He wrote poetry, and when you start looking, it's a reader of, or an aficionado of epic poetry. So it's Whitman, he fits that description. Now, our guy, too, was known to write poetry, like quirky poetry to people. Okay, but, as I mentioned, Wooly Bully. And then the name Werner von Brownie, I think it's really close to his. Now, is that a stretch for you? Maybe. But Werner von Brownie, Arthur von Briesen, and the Werner von Brownie, that was it's a play on the scientist, the German scientist, and there's a whole fair people right on him. So, yeah, is that a connection? German, and the name is so close. I don't know. But I'm going to give that one to us. So find me specific mentions to Whitman in the book, or something we can, absolutely tie into, particularly the verse. I don't see it. But I'm going to give you guys a kind of there. Our image matches, as far as I know, there aren't any. And I looked at all these different pictures of Whitman. And, there's a lot of them, a lot more of, there's only a few that you can find of Von Briesen. And the one I'm showing you up here is one of those. So I think he looks like Taxpert, and I'm going to show you that here in a sec. You could say maybe Whitman does too. I don't know. But the hand placement, that's the thing. Look at the hands in this picture. And this is the quintessential picture of Von Briesen here. I can really only find one other picture. Found a picture of his wife, I believe, last night. But the hands are an exact match, okay? So I do think that he fits really well tax burden. I can't find a picture of Whitman. If you can, that matches the tax burden, hey, show it to him. And then I'll give that one to you. But for now, I'm going to show you the tax burden here in a second. All right, so what's interesting about Whitman, which really sort of had me stepping back, was the fact that he was contemporaries and he knew Teddy. In fact, these guys were admirers of each other. So that was like, whoa, okay. Whereas Gershwin was born in like 1893, I think. He was a mere child when Teddy was doing all this stuff, in and around New York, and mayor, governor, all that, then president. So they didn't, there's no history of those guys knowing each other. Gershwin died when he was like 37, really young. But Whitman and Teddy, I can't find pictures of them, but they knew each other and respected each other, okay? So that's the thing about Whitman and Teddy. And of course, if you tie into Teddy, man, I like that, because Byron has Teddy all over the book and the puzzles. So they were friends, okay? But I would say they were acquaintances, and they had a mutual respect for each other. And I'm going to show you that. So Von Briesen was extremely good friends with Teddy. Okay, so when you're looking at these two together, you say, well, Whitman, he knew Teddy, and, they admired each other. Yeah, okay. Von Briesen was a close confidant of Teddy. Teddy was appointing him to commissions like on Ellis, where there were some abuses going on there, and he had Von Briesen look into this. There's all these letters of them writing back to each other, kind of very fondly of each other, like, hey, talking about birthday parties together, and their mutual respect and how much they admire each other. So these guys hung around and did work together. And so I think, when you look at Wooly Bully sitting on eagles very much a part of Prussian and German history and their flags. So you have the eagle/seagull in the painting, which I think is representative of Von Briesen. These guys were really tight. So if you were to say, well, Whitman, who knew and admired or respected Teddy, and you've got Von Briesen, who's hanging out with Teddy, and like doing personal stuff together and on appointing them commissions, all that. You wouldn't put Whitman ahead of von Briesen. The thing about everybody knows Whitman, nobody knows von Briesen, right? So I'm trying to like pull the covers back on this guy. So when you research it, you see they were tight. So I'm giving this one to us. All right, let's look at their homes, because if you're the Rhapsodic Man, he tells you in Rhapsodic Man soil. So I don't know how else you can take that. Then he's clearly referring to a person, a man, in the verse, in Wooly Bully as well. But he says buried in Rhapsodic Man soil. It's like, why would you take it to mean anything else than the cask is buried in the Rhapsodic Man soil? So who is the Rhapsodic Man? Right? So here's Whitman's home. I found it. It's up in Brooklyn. And I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit more, but it's in this neighborhood. It's, kind of like Gershwin's house. Now, Gershwin was on the Upper West Side, but he's down in Brooklyn. Whitman was. And so it's a street, and there's no place really to bury something. Von Briesen, on the other hand, has this incredible estate at the very south end of Staten, in the shadow of the Great Giants. You can see this picture I have in the background. Go there, please go there, and you might just be convinced, like I am, that this is where the box was buried, in Von Briesen Park. You've got these incredible views. Not that is supposed to be right, but it's so compelling. It's like, wow, this is a great place. Yes, you'd want to bury the box there, but it fits all these other angles. And I've published a bunch of stuff on why Von Briesen Park. Okay. But this is what you're going up against. If you're in the Rhapsodic Man soil, I can show you like the exact spot at Von Briesen Park that makes sense, all the visuals. And you just don't get that with Whitman's house. All right, so I'm giving that one to us. All right, so I'm going to just drill for a second into how these guys are connected. So as it turns out, it's Sagamore Hill, which is Teddy's house, his vacation house, his home on Long Island. He's got a framed portrait of Whitman, and then this manuscript that was a fragment from a poem that he was writing on the Department of Justice stationery. So they clearly, they knew each other, respected each other. And so it's like, wow, this is a great connection to Teddy, way better than Gershwin, right? So this speaks to the fact that these guys knew each other and respected each other. So great. That's a great connection. All right, so John Burroughs was a naturalist, naturist, conservationist, and he's pictured, I think, down here, standing with Teddy. And so he's a common link between Whitman and Teddy. Teddy very much listened to Burroughs, and Burroughs knew Whitman very well. So he's kind of this common link between them. And so Burroughs says Burroughs went on to mention marvel, two such widely diverse types should be the fruit of American democracy. Of course, a strenuous life cannot appeal to Whitman personally. Strenuous life of Teddy and his outdoorsmanship, I guess. And equally, of course, leisurely half-indolence, sauntering life of Whitman, of contemplation and enjoyment, cannot appeal to Roosevelt. So here's a guy who knew them both very well, hung out with both of them clearly. And he's saying, like, man, they sort of respect each other. And I'm going to post the link. There's a document that I found that talks about this manuscript and how Roosevelt and Whitman sort of knew each other and respected each other. So I will publish that out there. Okay, but that's where I got this stuff from. Okay, so here's a guy who knows both Teddy and Whitman, and he says, basically saying, hey, they respect each other, but they're kind of like oil and water, right? Certainly not the type of relationship that Teddy had with Von Briesen. All right, so here's the tax burden link, and I think the real key is this is the quintessential picture of Von Briesen. Okay, I think he matches the tax burden facially. It's the same angle on the face, but it's the hands. That's the real giveaway here, and I did some overlays on this in my longer videos, but you've got the the sort of circle with the hand, the OK sign, and then this hand right here. Aside from the finger, he's got it tucked under here, but man, it's like an exact match. So I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so here's a little more zoom in on the homes, residences, and so Whitman is up on 99 Ryerson Street in Brooklyn, and it kind of looks, like the Gershwin house, right? There's really no place here, that you would bury a box. If this is his house, okay, I'm putting up Von Briesen's house, which is over here, against your house, and you can see on the map it's buried down here. There's no views of anything. It's a neighborhood of Brooklyn. Okay, this is Von Briesen's. He's down at the south end. Look at it, right next to Fort Wadsworth. And from the dig site, folks, this is the view of the Great Giant. It's just north of the Great Giant. So I would tell you, I think in wintertime, the shadow of the bridge, the posts here, absolutely, I'm gonna say absolutely, probably, hit the park. It's that close. So you've got Battery Weed down here. When you turn then to the left and you look north from Von Briesen Park, this is the view. You see Brooklyn, you see the whole bay. You see everything. It's stunning from here. And there's a lot of other visual matches to the area, to the painting. And again, I cover that in other, but this is what you're up against, right? So is there a place? This is a park. It used to be his estate. The house has been torn down. There's nothing there. Part of the reason why people aren't looking here, no one knows about it. Even New Yorkers don't know Von Briesen Park exists. It's right next to Fort Wads, okay? And by the way, Spirit of 76 says you must be as far from the monument as you can be to find the box. So you can see the statue. It's real small. It's sitting up in here. But you can see that from this dig site. You can't see that from Whitman's. All right. And a little extra. When you go to San Francisco, and I think that box is or was buried at Battery Lancaster, right next to the bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, it's a mirror image of this. You see Fort Point underneath the bridge. Fort Point and Battery Weed look very similar. So part of the reason I like Von Briesen Park, it matches the San Francisco like a bookend. So I'm put a whole separate video where I look at those two together. So this is another reason why I like the site. All right. This is just real quickly, because I've showed this before. There is an absolutely perfect match, in my opinion. Two-way side. Do you have a match? Sure, you might. That's fine. But there is one in Von Briesen Park. So this tree, people say, this tree wasn't there. I think it was when you look back at the aerials. But man, you go 22 steps from that, puts you right here at the edge of the trail. You can see the statues. You got to have great eyes. Then there's this root system down here below this tree. It's really hard to see. It's kind of overgrown, but man, it matches a circular pattern. So this is Rhapsodic Man soil. Okay. So there are simple roots in here, I'll tell you, and they're 40 years bigger. So part of the problem with Von Briesen Park is you can see the spot 22 paces from that tree. They did this trail improvement, put this bench right here. And when you start going in here, and I found these on the internet, looks like someone went in there. I'm not sure who. There's all this aggregate, and it's nasty and gnarly. So, this dig didn't produce anything, and it went pretty deep, probing and digging. You get into these roots. Like, this is something where I think maybe you're playing for a fragment, but a fragment of plexiglass, and they smashed it, maybe, putting in these trails. But you've got all these like old bricks, rocks, all these roots. You have to go in here by hand. I think if you're going to make another attempt at this spot, you got to go in there like digging around with your hands, and maybe underneath one of these big roots. I don't know. All right, so I think the Bone Crusher is a winner again here against Whitman. But certainly would appreciate your comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I have a great day.